What's up, world? Welcome to The Positive Truth, uplifting and positive news for a more progressive society. Power Ranger, what are we trying to bring?
Here at The Positive Truth, we're trying to bring awareness, empowerment, inspiration, optimism, and understanding the communities everywhere.
The best Power Ranger, by the way, the black one.
Why is he the best one, JP? And that's the positive truth.
I'm just liking your fashion statement, man.
Man.
I was coming out here with bright blazers, you're doing Power Rangers? We're
trying to change the game, man.
Absolutely.
Be who you want to be, people.
Be who you want to be. Speaking of being who you want to be, we're talking about the glass ceiling today.
Oh, yeah.
This episode, we talk about uplifting and positive news on Monday and Wednesdays. Being what you want to be. With the glass ceiling, we have a problem with the women in America. They're not being allowed to be what they want to be.
That is very true.
Where can they find us at before we get to it?
Before we get to talking about the glass ceiling, you guys make sure you follow us on Facebook at The Positive Truth Podcast, on Twitter at TPT Podcast, or TPT_podcast, I'm sorry, on iTunes, YouTube, Google Play, and SoundCloud. JP, let's get right into it, man. Before we even start talking about the glass ceiling, tell us what the glass ceiling is.
Glass ceiling is a metaphor used to represent an invisible barrier that keeps a given demographic, typically women, from rising beyond a certain level in a hierarchy and basically in jobs. The metaphor was first coined by feminists in reference to the barriers and careers of high-achieving women. In the U.S., it applies to women, especially to minority women, as well as sometimes to minority men. There's basically 4 distinct characteristics: a gender or racial difference that is not explained by other job-related characteristics of the employee, a gender or racial difference that is greater at higher levels of an outcome than at lower levels of an outcome. The last 2 are a gender or racial inequality in the chances of advancement into higher levels, not merely the proportions of each gender or race currently at those higher levels, and a gender or race inequality that increases over the course of a career. We're going to be talking about all of them today.
I like it.
Why is this topic an issue, Tim?
I mean, there's a huge gender pay gap.
How big is it?
I don't know the exact number, JP. Do you got the exact number?
I do.
Ooh, there's an exact number. Let's hear this.
Well, it's different state to state. The average is 20%. You want to know what the gender pay gap is in Oklahoma?
I'm gonna guess. I want to say we're better. Oh man, I'm gonna guess 30%.
So for every dollar a man makes in Oklahoma, a woman makes 73% of that. So 73 cents on the dollar. 27% of the gender pay gap in Oklahoma. The best is New York, where it's basically, let me find it, it's 9%. And the worst is 30%.
We're pretty close, Oklahoma.
Yeah. But on the whole, women should be paid equal anyway.
Exactly.
And we're not just talking about the gender pay gap, we're talking about advancements up in companies.
For sure. For sure. I mean, the reason that the glass ceiling is being used is because women in a lot of companies, a lot of Fortune 500 companies even, they hit to a certain spot in management and it's almost impossible for them to get any higher. But for a man, it's completely different. For a man, we shoot up there so quick and fast, it's not even funny.
It's called the glass elevator.
Exactly. That's what I was leading into. I'm glad this is working out. It's compared to the glass ceiling for a woman. You called it the glass elevator?
For men.
For men, because it's like compared to a woman taking stairs. Like a man taking an elevator, it's going to take longer to take the stairs for a woman, but for a man, we don't have to do any work, just press a button and we're there.
Especially in female jobs. So think about when you were in elementary school, how many male teachers did you have?
I had one 4th grade teacher named Mr. Gardner, and that was it.
So that usually happens in like a good example is elementary schools. They're like, oh, you're a guy and you're teaching elementary school. We need to push you up. You need to be an administrator.
Exactly.
So it's like the higher you get, like most of the people in the school district, higher positions, like on the council, on the board, they're men.
It's very true. There's usually more men than women if there is any women at all.
I misspoke on the gender pay gap. The smallest in New York was basically 11%, and the largest gap is Wyoming at 64%, so a 36% difference. But it's worse for minorities. You want to know what the gender pay gap is for black women in America? 63% on the dollar.
Ooh, I think I had that one.
You want to guess Hispanic women?
Hispanic women, I'm going to say it's less, but I'm going to say 55 cents.
54%.
Oh!
That was nice though, Sam. That's an awful stat.
It's terrible.
That's a good guess. Great guess.
I did a little bit of research, man. I did a little bit.
So that means for every dollar a white man makes in America, if an Hispanic woman is making like basically 54 cents on it. It's awful.
Man, you know what's even worse? I believe Asian women get paid even less.
Asian women think it's like 75.
Oh, it's a little higher than? Okay, man. I'm over here thinking.
Positive truth.
That's a positive truth. All right, let's keep it going.
Speaking of the gender pay gap, it doesn't appear to go away on its own. At the rate of change between 1960 and 2015, women were expected to reach the pay equity with men in 2059, but the pace has slowed so much. At this pace, women won't reach the same pay as men until 2152. So this is a problem. If we don't address it now, it's not going to go away anytime soon. It's going to affect everyone. Like, it affected our mothers and grandmothers. It's going to affect our children, daughters, and granddaughters. So we need to fix this problem now.
I mean, I got a bunch of nieces right now, and
How many?
Man, I have 1, 2, 3, 4. I believe I have 6, 7, maybe. I'm not gonna. Don't quote me on that. 6 or 7.
How do you not know how many nieces you have, man?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I have 7. I do have 7.
Okay.
The oldest one. All right. So I have 7 nieces. That being said, my nieces will not have a fair opportunity in the corporate world just because they're going to be a woman. I don't think that's fair. I don't even have any children. If I had a daughter, I'd be even more heated than what I am right now. But we got to do more than what's going on now, because 2052 is way too long to make things. 2152 is way too long. My nieces, kids, and grandkids, and no, negative. We got to do something about it now.
Right now.
And this is exactly why we're talking about it. The gender pay gap is ridiculous. You guys, we gave you the stats to it right now. What was it, 54 cents for Hispanic women?
Yes.
And how much is it for African American women? 60?
63.
63 cents. I mean, 63 cents to every dollar a man makes.
Yeah, 63% of basically men, white men in America.
It's got to change, people. It's got to change.
So, why is this happening? Basically, it's job segregation runs rampant in the corporate world. Women, they're usually pushed oh, you should be a secretary, you should be in public relations. And they're locked out of business mainstream groups that lead CEOs or presidents.
Right.
Even when they do get oh, this is a route that could lead to more upstanding opportunity, it's not as likely because women aren't marked as leaders. People won't respect them, which is just...
It's wrong.
Exactly.
It's wrong. I mean, it's a huge issue in today's society because, I mean, they don't promote women and excuses because whenever you have a child, you have to take a certain amount of time off of work. I mean, that's literally what certain corporations were saying. That's why they didn't want to have a woman as a CEO.
Heaven forbid we have another generation of children.
Exactly. What's going on with people's mindset doesn't make any sense.
I got that down too. Is since you had a kid, I can't give you an annual raise.
That's a legit reason why people were not giving women raises.
2017, man.
And it has to change. And this is why we're talking about it now, because we're tired of nobody else speaking about it. So here we are. And they have you ever heard of the sticky floor?
I have, but tell the people what it is.
Sticky floors can be described as a pattern that women are, compared to men, less likely to climb the job ladder, which we've been talking about. It complements the concept of the glass ceiling. Instead of having a glass ceiling where you can't reach any higher, the sticky floor is literally what it is, a sticky floor. You can't get off the floor. It makes sense if you sit here and you think about it. Women are told you can't get any higher than this, or you can do this, you can do whatever you want to do, but in all reality, they're stuck on the floor, not even climbing any ladders whatsoever. Like in the restaurant business, how many female managers do you have, JP?
One.
Exactly. I have one. I've been working in the restaurant business since I was 16. I'm now 28 years old.
You've only had one female manager?
No, I've had more than one, but I've only had one at a time.
Have you ever had like a female like GM, like the boss?
Never.
Me neither.
Wait, no, I take that back. When I was 16 at McDonald's, I had one female GM. She was only the GM for a few months though, and then replaced by a man. Just like at my restaurant I'm at now. Plenty of male managers in the restaurant. We have one female manager. Female manager quits, one female manager replaces her.
I feel like, since we're talking about restaurants, I feel like we should discuss, this doesn't change by education level. If you have a high school education, you need a high school education to get this job, there's still a gender pay gap. If you have a doctorate degree, there's still a gender pay gap. It's actually, the gender pay gap is smaller for the less education it is at the higher.
Oh yeah. I mean,
which is terrifying, right? So you go to school so you can get ahead in equal opportunity. And then you get there, it's like you're still getting paid less. And on top of that, the gender pay gap usually gets worse as it goes on. So at the beginning, you might be making 90% of your male coworkers. 20 years, you might be making 70% because they get more higher annual raises than you.
Exactly.
Just because you're a woman.
Exactly. And you know what's sad? Women now make up the majority of college and graduate students.
Black women are we're talking about the glass ceiling. Of all the groups, like all the racial groups, if you put in like Asian women, Asian men, white women, black women graduate college at the highest rate.
And they're still going to get paid less.
Mm.
And that's what hurts.
Man. Keep going, Tim. I'm kind of...
Well, I mean, also, they have something called similar to the sticky floor, it's called the frozen middle. The frozen middle describes the phenomenon of women's progress up the corporate ladder slowing, if not hauling, completely frozen, literally. I mean, it ranks them in the middle management jobs. If we don't do anything to help support women get higher in these jobs, nothing's going to change. And this is why we need to start talking about some positive reinforcements. What do we need to do to help change this? To help change this glass ceiling to a sunroof?
Before we get there, I still got things that are holding me back.
Oh,
there's
man.
A lot of
There's
things
definitely
back.
a lot. Let's break them all down, JP.
You ever heard of the Old Boy Network?
Old Boy Network? No, sir.
Really? You've never heard of that?
No.
It's like, oh, these are my old boys, these are my friends, these are my homies. So it's like, it's a group of guys. So basically, they say interviewing is really hard because you always pick people like you.
Mm-hmm.
So promoting management, male corporate leaders tend to select people as much like themselves as possible. So women automatically just get disregarded. Like, oh, you're a woman, you can't hold the spot I've held, or you can't hold the spot below me. I need a man to help me out since I'm a big corporate position.
Right.
And so they're like, let's go play golf. Oh, women don't do golf. So they do, let's go to the bar, let's go watch the game.
Right.
They do a lot of old boy activities, and they just push the women to the side. Another thing that holds them back is sex discrimination. In a recent poll by the Los Angeles Times, 2/3 of women in major corporate jobs basically felt like just being a woman was their hardest part of them getting a promotion.
Just being a woman.
And more than 80% of women on Wall Street basically said that 90% of large corporations that have worked in a Fortune 500 company have sexual harassment complaints from the women, but only 20% of those offenses actually lead to people losing their jobs, and 4 in 5 are just reprimanded or not even reprimanded. So we're having sexual harassment in the workplace.
Like it's okay.
I mean, I've had a lot of jobs. The way men talk to women, it's just...
I hear you on that. It definitely needs to change. Men can definitely be a lot more respectful to women, especially when they speak to them. Hell, even look at them.
Exactly. It's like if men say things all the time, they're like, oh, I'm not sexually harassing you, but you're just offering a sexual favor. And it's just not acceptable. If women did that with us all the time, like if it was someone you didn't like or you were just married, like you're married, Tim, I'm pretty sure your wife wouldn't want women just offering you sexual favors all the time.
She's putting hands on people for sure.
Yeah, guys do that all the time.
It would no longer be the positive truth. Straight negative from Edna.
You will respect Egna's space. So let's talk about how you can change this for the better.
Man, my number one thing goes to, like you said, when they were doing old boy networking.
Yeah, old boy networking.
Man, to counteract that, you have to include women. If you guys are going to go to the bar and you guys are going to go after work, do something that's a little more equal. Let's just say that. Let's do something that's more equal for women.
Like, let's go to a restaurant.
Exactly. Or, you know what, let's go to a bar that's not a strip club.
There we go.
Let's just make it open to include these women, not just at work, but outside of work whenever you guys do old boy activities.
Let's talk to them with respect.
Being respectful should be the number one thing for sure. Like we just went over, you can't just talk to them any type of way. They're people. They have feelings.
Exactly.
You can also give women credit when credit is due. Stop trying to take credit from the work that they're doing. I know a lot of women, you know a lot of women, and I guarantee you our moms are probably two of the hardest working women that we know. They took care of us, they raised us, we are the men who we are today, a big part of because of who they were. Give these credit at work, give these women at work the credit that they need to climb that ladder.
That reminds me, since we're bringing up mothers, in America, women typically do twice as much housework as men.
Oh, for sure.
So they're going to work. There's more women in college and graduate programs. They're succeeding. They're getting in these jobs. They're not getting paid as much, and they're going home and they're doing twice as much housework.
Women are monsters of overcoming adversity, man.
And we need to stop this adversity.
Oh, for sure. I mean, my household is definitely not going to be like that. We treat each other equally. I have to do just as much housework as she does. And
what housework do you do, Tim?
Man, I'm in charge of the dishes, the trash. Obviously, you know, I cut the grass and stuff. Every now and then I try to help her when I help her. Whenever she's in school, you know, last semester she took 20 hours, so, you know, I was sweeping, mopping, cooking. I was doing everything I possibly could to try to help out, but that's just how my household is. We want to be as equal as we possibly can, so our children, whenever we do decide to have children, they'll grow up in a society where women are equal to men. I don't want my son one day to think he's better than a woman just because she's a female. That's not how I want it to be, and that's how society in all reality should be. That's what's morally right. But society's not like that. There's a lot of old school minds, and not just from men, but from women as well, because there's a lot of women out there that believe their daughters need to be in the kitchen. You need to learn how to cook, you need to learn how to clean, and that's not necessarily right. Everybody should know how to cook and clean. At the end of the day,
It's not right at all.
You need to take care of yourself. That old school state of mind just has to go. And that's not just for men, that's for women as well. What else do you have for us, JP? Positive ways we can
Have you ever heard of affirmative action?
Of course.
We should have affirmative action for women to push them up.
Continue.
Why not? We're clearly discriminating against them. We have all the factual evidence for them. We can't pay them the same way. Like we have shown as a patriarchal society that we are not treating women equally. So companies should do their best to give women equal opportunity. It shouldn't just be like, oh, women, stay open-minded, keep working hard, don't worry about the glass ceiling, just take your opportunity when it comes. It should be like, no, we should make an effort as a society to help women out. They deserve it.
It's as simple as that, too. You said it so just perfect, man.
I appreciate that. But it's just, I think another thing is just raising awareness. What we're doing now is just, no one talks about this. Everyone talks about racism, people being xenophobic, but the Women's March on Washington just showed, like, women, they don't like the way Donald Trump was talking to them. Regardless of how you feel about him, it just shows, like, we still have a long way to go to make it to an egalitarian society. And we should take as many actions as we can as males to help with that. It should be a moral responsibility, as Martin Luther King would say, to help out the people that are being treated unjustly. Or if you want to go Christian, what would Jesus do? Or if you want to go Islam, what would Muhammad do?
Man, Malcolm X had a quote for that as well, about standing up for injustice, which is pretty cool because it's Malcolm X.
Exactly.
I mean, I agree with you 100%. We have to do something as men for women because, and it's not that they can't do it themselves, but we're not allowing them to, and that's us as a society. So I know you're with it, I know I'm with it, and we're for the woman, for sure.
You let us know. Go to our Twitter, our Facebook, and let us know how to help out get rid of this glass ceiling. Tell us what other topics you would like us to talk about. Tim, do you have a quote from a positive, great, uplifting woman?
I do. From Margaret Thatcher. If you want something said, ask a man. If you want something done, ask a woman.
Are we sure?
That was empowerment, man. This is a woman's episode.
It's like you said Margaret Thatcher, I was like, uh-oh. This is going to be at least passive aggressive.
Man, I believe that's it for today.
Okay, well, check us out. We'll be 2 days from now, Monday. We're putting out a podcast,
and
uplifting
Wednesday.
positive news, and Wednesday. Keep on bringing this great content. Let's have everyone love each other. Stop discriminating against our women. We're out.
Stay positive.